Good evening, everyone, once again. So I'm going to kick it off. My name is Nicola Hines. I am the president for the League of Women Voters of the state of Georgia. I have been the president for the state league since 2023. For those who don't know about the League of Women Voters, we are a 105-year-old voting organization. We came out of the suffrage movement, giving women the right to vote in 1920. So 105 years later, we are here. Actually, Atlanta Fulton is one of the oldest leagues because the state league came out of Atlanta and then became obviously a bigger organization. We currently oversee 26 counties. We have 13 leagues that oversee those 26 counties. We go up as far north as Dalton and Rome, as west as Carrollton, obviously the shore with Savannah and Augusta, and of course our rural areas of Macon, and of course Metro Atlanta. Obviously my goal as a president is to expand that. So anyone in this room who's looking to want to maybe start a local league, come see me or my board directors here. Because there's 159 counties, right? And for us to do the good work, we need more than 26 counties to do it. So I'm going to pass it off to my good friend to the left here to introduce himself and his organization.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Bruce. I have the pleasure of serving as the Policy and Advocacy Director of the ACLU of Georgia. Y'all heard of the ACLU? Okay. Y'all probably heard of suing people, right? Well, I don't get on that side. I'm on the other side. Who knows about the ACLU? Raise your hand. Who doesn't know about the ACLU then? Joel, if you don't put your hand down right now, thanks, Leslie. Thank you so much. People always have jokes. Here, so if y'all already know about the ACLU, do you know about the ACLU of Georgia and how the ACLU of Georgia actually started off as the affiliate of the ACLU Southern Voting Project? So we did not have an ACLU of Georgia before. When we were fighting for our civil rights and civil liberties, actually our national organization put down a center because there were so many problems with voting, especially in the South. They decided on planting in Atlanta and working all throughout the South to fight for civil rights and civil liberties, especially when it came to voting. And eventually, we turned into the ACLU of Georgia as the local affiliate. As you can see, there's still so much of a need, not only just in voting, reproductive rights, racial justice, and any and everything else that deals with your Constitution and the laws about your civil rights. We have members in all 159 counties in the state of Georgia. All of them. So it's one of the reasons why we're not in the city of Atlanta right now. We are going to do regional diversity. This is not the ACLU of Atlanta. It's the ACLU of Georgia. So this is one of our expansion projects that we are doing in such great collaboration with the League of Women Voters, with the Urban League of Greater Atlanta, and with the state conference of the NAACP. So y'all are in for a treat today because what we do down at the Capitol, we need it from everyone all over the state of Georgia. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it over to my good friend, John Moore.
Hey, everybody. Let's give it up for Chris and for Nicola. So again, I'm John Moy. I represent the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. And we all know the history. The Urban League has been around since 1910. And the bottom line is that was the Great Migration. Many African Americans were leaving. We all know the history. And they were settling. But as they settled around the country, they found the same problems: housing discrimination, having a hard time finding employment, and other issues. And out of that was born the National Urban League in New York City. But guess what? We have now 93 affiliates all over the country. And the Urban League of Greater Atlanta has been here since 1920. This is our 105th year. We're led by our great leader, Nancy Flake Johnson, who I know is on her way. And so I have the honor and privilege of serving as a senior director for policy, working with these good people here on the stage every day at the Gold Dome when it's in session, fighting the good fight on behalf of you. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our fellow civil rights organization, Kipley Carr, first vice president with the NAACP.
Thank you, Johnny. Good evening. How's everybody tonight? My name is Kip Carr, and I am proud to represent the Georgia NAACP and Attorney Gerald Griggs. who had to be called away on an urgent legal case out of state. How many in this audience knows about the NAACP? Raise your hand. How many don't know about the NAACP? 116 years, 4 people across a kitchen table in Manhattan felt the need of a national organization to deal with, at that time, lynching. And that mushroomed into other concerns. There has been a presence in Georgia of the NAACP at least since the 20s. Now, I will tell you that, how many of you knew that the state of Alabama actually outlawed the NAACP? Yes, they did. In the 50s, the NAACP was forced to leave, and Ruby Hurley, our executive secretary, relocated our field office to Atlanta, where it has remained ever since. We have units, which we call branches, in every corner of our beautiful state, not just in Atlanta. We have active, vital branches in Camden County, which is all the way down near the Florida state line. We have just reorganized a branch in Decatur County, Swamp Country in Bainbridge, Georgia. We have 133 active branches. Now, out of 159 counties, that's not bad, but we could do a little bit better. We have one of the most active NAACPs anywhere in the state of Georgia is right here in Cobb County, that began the Juneteenth celebration long before it became a federal holiday. So it is a privilege to be with our coalition partners. During the session, we spoke with one voice, and we are very interested in listening to you, because even though the session is out for 2025, before you blink, it will be time for the gavel to go down in January. So we're glad to be here tonight, and remember, the NAACP is always there for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Kip. Oh, you got to introduce. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Sarah. Introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Hunt Blackwell. I am the First Amendment Policy Counsel for the ACLU of Georgia. My boss here, Mr. Bruce, has already given the illustrious history of our beloved organization. But I do want to highlight the fact that one of the core pillars of the ACLU of Georgia is the First Amendment. And right now we're seeing the First Amendment under attack in many, many different ways in our country, in our state, and especially under the Gold Dome. So I'm overjoyed to be here with you all this evening to talk about some of the legislation that I worked on personally in partnership with these wonderful organizations, and to talk about what passed, what didn't pass, and what we're expecting for 2026. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. So just to give you a recap or a understanding of how we came about, this is actually our first anniversary. We did this was our first event last year, and we came about to talk about how can we educate the state in terms of what's going on under the Gold Dome, downtown Atlanta, and also other issues from federal, and how can we support each other. If you realize the name Legacy Coalition kind of was a brainchild, taking from some of our backgrounds of Black Greek-led organizations. There's a term being legacy members, that type of stuff. And we had all said that we are all organizations that are over 100 years old. Now, in the state of Georgia, we see a lot of civic organizations pop up, pop down, come around, just because of what the climate is. But our 4 organizations have been fighting this fight for over 100 years old. For over 100 years. We have been in the trenches, if it was for women's rights, if it was for, our Black and brown communities and their rights, if it was just over your civil liberties in terms of your First Amendment rights. We have been in this fight and we have been in this trenches. And we looked at our organizations and saying that we are kind of those pillar organizations that helps move the torch forward. So I wanted to kind of give you a little background. We're so excited to actually celebrate a year. And as you can see, I'm one of the only females on this little panel. So thank you everybody for supporting me. I'm only joking. But we're going to go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to kick it off to, we're going to delve right into it. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly bills that came out of this legislative session. And I'm going to start with the ACLU and their bills and their priorities.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I am going to take some executive privilege right now and recognize the CEO of the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. It's Nancy Flake Johnson. Nancy, can you please stand? Yeah. I'm sorry, John, I had to do it. Thank you so much. Let me tell you, Nancy, and I know, John, you would agree with me, has touched so many people's lives, has always shown up and been here for the fight. I wouldn't be here without you, Nancy. I want to tell you that publicly. You have to give people their flowers while they're still here. While we are doing that, are there any other elected officials who are in the audience tonight? If you could raise your hands or stand. That's cool, Eric. You can drink some water. I know you're there. That's cool. That's fine. There are some people here that just don't want to be recognized, and that's fine too. Let's jump into our legislative session and our legislative session recap. What exactly happened and what didn't happen. So let's make sure that we know where we're at. Let's stand up for this, because it's a lot. The ACLU is one of those type of organizations that when we see a fight, we jump in. Okay, we cover a lot. We also have a lot of impact. This is actually a narrowed focus on the type of work that we do. So speech and privacy, voting rights, criminal legal reform, bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom, LGBTQ plus rights. Those happen every year. You hear about it in the news. You see it happening when it's going through. Some are more popular than others, but I can tell you and guarantee you, each one of those subjects come up in your legislative session every year. And if it wasn't for us and amazing organizations that are up here right now, a lot of your civil rights and civil liberties would be rolled back. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about our wins, and then we're going to go into other things. And the reason why you have Sarah up here is I'm going to pass it on to her to talk about one of the biggest things that we know is coming because it's already here, First Amendment rights. So when it comes to speech and privacy, we challenged Senate Bill 351. That's the age verification requirements that passed in 2024. Voting rights. We have a potential win with House Resolution 885. This is an election procedure study committee. Did y'all hear about the state election board that happened earlier last year and all the crazy things that they were passing? Yes. Let's make sure that never happens again, okay? They have a study committee going on about that, which we are actively involved in. Criminal legal reform. We have a potential win with Senate Resolution 429. That's the Felony Disenfranchisement Study Committee. Georgia is way behind when it comes to other states, especially southern states, when it comes to felony disenfranchisement. I'm not going to go through the whole history, but basically, if you're charged with, if you are convicted of a felony, you lose your voting rights in this state, and it takes a lot to get it back. So we're trying to change that with a study committee. Why is this a victory? Because we tried to do this back in 2019, and now the legislature is coming back and looking at it again because justice is not being served. Bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom. HB 428, that's the right to IVF. You've heard that in the news and plenty other places. Georgia legislature actually did pass it. And something that you can see, I don't know if you can see on this PowerPoint right here, there was a plethora of attacks against the LGBTQ plus community. So we challenged Senate Bill 36, that's the Religious Restoration Act, challenged Senate Bill 1, the transports ban, and challenged Senate Bill 185, the ban on gender affirming care. Let's go on to the next slide. Oh, that's yours. With the next slide, I'm going to pass it over to the League of Women Voters. Go ahead.
So same thing, there were some bills that really aligned with the League of Women Voters mission. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. It's that plain, 4 words, right? And so we really looked at this year, 2025 session was the election administration reforms. We put potential wins with SB 175 and HB 215 because they didn't get passed out of committee. They got withdrawn and recommitted. And so SB 175 is ranked choice. And this particular bill will ban it statewide. Other states are doing it, but other states are allowing each municipality in terms of, like New York City does it, but that doesn't mean the whole state of New York does it. This bill would actually have banned it across the state, which hurts all of our municipalities and localities, which maybe it would help them in terms of elections, and we will lower our runoff sessions. Because we know, especially if you live in Atlanta, I always joke around and say, we vote like almost every month because of everybody wants to run. Then we have HB 215, the Voter List Integrity Act. That was to remove us from the ERIC system. Has anyone have heard of the ERIC system? So that is a multi-state system that basically goes across state and federal databases to make sure that you're in the right state with the right address. So if you move out of Georgia and you move to another state, the system kind of compiles and say, yeah, I got a notification that you are no longer in this state and you should be registered. I actually got a prime example. I haven't lived in the state of Kentucky for over 10 years, and I just got a letter from them saying, we want to confirm that you no longer should be on our rolls. And so that's what the ERIC system does. So this bill was actually trying to remove the state of Georgia from this national system that multiple states do. I believe it's over 20 some states that are part of this program. 29, so I said over 20. Yep, so 29 that is a part of the system. And Georgia wanted to be removed from it and actually use their own system, or they've been lobbying for a program that's called Eagle AI, and that's a whole nother conversation. So challenge of HB 502, and we didn't challenge it, but we said it was a challenge because of 502 and 324 is something that we were in favor of, and we will go deeper into that. It ended up being like what we say challenged is because it did not pass out. These are bills that would actually have made it easier for people to vote. People with disabilities, if you have hearing disabilities or physical disabilities, also if you are accompanied by a child under 2 years old, would have allowed you to have preferential treatment in voting. That did not come out of session this year. We did have some wins. Healthcare access. So for us, we are defending reproductive rights and healthcare access, which also includes mental health and everything with that. So HB 36 updated the list of approved providers who can participate in guardianship appointment. And this is multiple cross states so that it's interstate. So this was a great win for us. It actually became law, and we're going to go more details in that. And then HB 81. This is really important, especially when we look at our marginalized groups, because psychologists, right? If you have a kid that maybe has an issue in a school and then they move, they have to start all over. Instead of having those files being able and easily transferable between schools and the psychologists that worked with them, instead of starting from the bottom. So this was a great win for League of Women Voters because we were really focusing on mental health this year. And same thing with ACLU, obviously anything that has to deal with reproductive rights, the great win with HB 428, right to IVF. I'm going to, next slide.
All right. So we start with, what number slide? I'm sorry. Want to make sure. All right. My cheat sheet is not in line with this. All right. Our priorities. So America cannot truly progress until all Americans have equal and equitable access, and this can only be done by keeping Black people at the top of every agenda. Education, housing, employment, entrepreneurship, health, LGBTQ, and voting rights are our focus. We're pushing for policies that enhance the lives of Black Americans, such as early education literacy, protect and expand the teaching of Black history, increasing financial aid for higher education, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, DEIB, addressing high housing costs, ensuring connectivity for broadband internet, ensuring equitable federal tax policy, prioritizing reproductive justice and health, guaranteed health care for all, prioritizing a green economy for Black entrepreneurs, ensuring and protecting the right to vote. Wins and challenges, we won with House Bill 268, the Safe Schools Initiative, House Bill 307, Quality Basic Education Act. And anybody who's been paying attention to QBE knows that, 40 years since the formula had been put in place and definitely needs a real overhaul. The Senate Bill 120, the DEI ban, was challenged, and a potential with House Bill 27, education equity. In the field of civil rights, we consider a win with Senate Resolution 429, felony disenfranchisement. A potential win with House Bill 670, the state civil rights law. Potential win with House Bill 225, hairstyle discrimination, and challenge with Senate Bill 36, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. One of the things that I will say that we're very concerned about, Brother Bruce, is in the field of voting rights. I just came back from the National NAACP, where we set forth about 6 policy platforms for an ensuing year. And one of the items in the field of voting rights was a resolution to guard against so-called election deniers to be put on local boards of education. That is an amendment that I was able to sponsor. It passed the national convention overwhelmingly, and that is now, that will, once it's ratified by the board in October, that will be part of the official policy of the association.
Here,
Congratulations, Kip.
good deal. And I'm next. If I could just set the stage for our policy.
Oh, you got it, John. John,
Priorities,
you are the
okay.
stage. Come on, man.
So I just want to set the stage for how we approach it. So about 2 or 3 years ago, under Nancy's leadership, we conducted a State of Black Georgia report, a comprehensive report, 132 pages, about how Black folks are doing in the state of Georgia. And if you recall, Ms. Johnson, we were all in the car and we traveled to Albany and Macon and Augusta and Columbus and Savannah and came back here in the metropolitan region. And we met with district attorneys and members of Congress and hospital officials to get a real assessment of where we are. And then we published that 132-page report. And so for us, that's the guiding, that's the North Star. The issues that we are confronting, that we deal with, similar to what Chris said, are structural issues. At the time, can we get movement on Medicaid? At the time, can we increase the minimum wage? At the time, can we move on the QBE formula? Can we get additional funding for HBCUs? Structural issues. But here are some of the issues that we focused on this year. And if I can, you all can direct me. Okay, good deal. I appreciate it. All right. So I will not back up. I thank you. I was going to get baptized.
No, thank you.
Right. Well, that's a real baptism. Okay, all right, good deal, all right. So basically, thank you, Ms. Johnson. She saved me again. So some of the things we were working on housing. We know housing is a real issue here in the state of Georgia. But we won with House Bill 159, which really expanding access to home ownership. We were challenged with House Bill 698, which we really was hoping that we could get passed. It was actually a homelessness prevention program, which under the Department of, help me out here, Department of Health.
And Human Services.
DPH.
Oh,
The Department of Health. Thank you, but the Department of Health, okay?
Department of Public Health.
Thank you very much. Department of Public Health. It's been a long day, but in short, it really would
It
have
has
helped
been a long day.
address the homeless population that we have in Georgia, and it's only going to exacerbate. It's only going to get worse, and so we were challenged with that. We won with House Bill 67, which was a General Appropriations Act. So Nancy and I, we've been working on this kindergarten program for the last. I had a chance to talk to Ms. Johnson. We've been talking about literacy problems, and my wife said to me, who's an educator, she said, well, you know what the problem is, John? I said, what's the problem, Madam Educator? She said, we don't have kindergarten, pre-kindergarten in the state of Georgia, mandatory kindergarten. I'm like, what are you talking about? So 5 years ago, we've been on this for about 5 years, trying to see if we can move the needle on kindergarten here in the state of Georgia, but we got some movement this year. There was nearly an $83 million appropriation specifically targeting pre-K programs, so that's a win for us. We're happy. We wish we could have got more, but we got some movement on that. Let's hear it for the kids in Georgia. That's right. Okay, good deal. But then we were challenged with House Bill 245 and Senate Bill 128, which was aiming to add a specific QBE funding rate for students living in poverty. This bill, really, 245 and Senate Bill 128, although it wasn't a magic bullet, but it would have made some movement in terms of funding, bringing it up, more funding for quality basic education in our state. My hope is that we're going to come back next year, and perhaps, Chris, we can really move the needle on that.
Oh, we're going to make it happen.
And make it happen, okay?
With the people in this audience.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And then in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, so we were challenged. So we've been working with State Representative Roger Bruce and a whole host of other legislators to raise the minimum wage. We know right now in the state of Georgia that if you're not earning about $20 an hour, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Johnson, about 20, more like $30 an hour, two things are happening. Either you're working two jobs to make ends meet, or you're having a really difficult time. So can you all, who can, by a raise of hands, tell me how much is the minimum wage in Georgia? Can anybody tell me? State minimum wage. How much? $5.15. What's the federal minimum wage? How much? $7.25, okay? Impossible. Impossible to live on that. And so a few years ago, we were talking to Representative Bruce about raising it to $15. But now, there's been an effort to see if we can raise it to $20. We have to do that. We have to get our people out of poverty. And it can be done. The business community argues that if we do that, it will hurt businesses. We know that around the country, there are other jurisdictions that have done it and has helped businesses. It hasn't been a hindrance. So we're working on that. And then the last piece, listen, the biggest challenge for us, I think me and Chris, all of us were up at night working on Senate Bill 120, which was the most outrageous nonsense, at least my time of being here. I know Chris is, you all are seasoned veterans, but I really got into the weeds in Senate Bill 120. And we killed it. And then it came back like a bad weed. We killed it. We were popping champagne corks or whatever it was. And then in the middle of the night, they brought it back. So, but that's where we are with the Urban League. We're fighting the good fight. And I guess I'll turn it back over to whom?
Well, we're going to go to the next slide.
We'll go to the next
Thank
slide.
you, Ali. We're going to talk about past legislation that is now law. So we want to make sure that the things that have been passed, typically on July 1st is when all laws go into effect, unless they change it in there. So we're going to talk about exactly what laws we're going to go with. And this is our introduction to our newly minted attorney, Sarah Hunt Blackwell. Could you lead us off, Sarah?
Here, Sarah.
Absolutely. So Senate Bill 351 was a bill that was actually passed in 2024, and this was an age verification bill. The ACLU of Georgia got a little bit of a hard time about this bill under the Gold Dome just because of the nature of the content that it deals with. Essentially, what this bill does is require that everyone who accesses any sites that have sexual material or anything that's content that's deemed harmful to minors, you have to upload your personal information, whether that is your birth date, a copy of your ID, whatever the website requires. And as you can imagine, this was a bit of a testy subject because the narrative that was going under the Gold Dome was that, children are accessing these horrible sites, and they're seeing all types of things that they shouldn't see. And there's all these videos and photos out there that our young people are accessing. And the way to stop that is by having everyone enter their personal information to verify that they're an adult. Well, we've all been young at one point, and I bet we can all think of a time where we snuck perhaps to do some of the things that we were told that we shouldn't do anyway. And we had a lot of issues and concerns about this bill, namely from a privacy standpoint. So having to upload your personal information to access a site, number one, we have the First Amendment constitutional right to access any type of website, whether it has sexual content on it or not. Pornography is protected by the First Amendment. Now, of course, we do want to protect our children, and we in no way want to present or even try to insinuate that we are advocating for child pornography or for children to access things that they shouldn't be accessing. But what we're talking about, what we're concerned about, are consenting adults, people who would have to put in personal information, identifiable information, to be able to access something that is constitutionally protected. We don't know what's being done with that information once it's entered. We don't know how long it's being stored for. We don't know if it's being destroyed or not. And these are all concerns that we raised under the Gold Dome about this bill. It's not that we're for.
What challenges did you run into, Sarah, when trying to fight this bill? Let's hear this.
When I was testifying against this bill in committee, I got a question from a committee member who said, "So you mean to tell me that the ACLU of Georgia supports child pornography?" Wasn't expecting that question, but again, my comeback to that was no. We do not champion
the ACLU
child
of Georgia
pornography.
does not. Thank you.
Not at all. But we do champion First Amendment rights, and we do champion the ability for people to know what is being done with their data and to have some sense of data privacy. So this was, unfortunately, a bill that we were not able to get stopped. This bill had been introduced multiple times in multiple sessions, and in 2024, it did become law. So not to put anyone on the spot, but now in the state of Georgia, if you access certain sites, there are pop-ups that come up now requesting private information. So that is a law that has passed in the state of Georgia.
Let's keep it going with RFRA.
Yeah, RFRA. This was a big fight. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act has been a bill or legislation that has been introduced in the Georgia legislature, I think, since 2018, almost every single year. And this bill has a lot of nuance because it deals with our First Amendment right to religion. So just a quick crash course for everyone. The First Amendment protects your right to religion in that there are two rights that come with that. Your right to practice whatever religion that you would like, or not to practice one at all, but also the right that your government is not going to establish or assume any particular religion. And RFRA was, the way that the state version of RFRA was written, only one of those rights was included in the bill for many years. So the religious expression component was always included, but the component about the government not establishing or promoting any particular religion somehow was always left out until this year. So this year was the first year where both rights were included in the language of the bill. Sounds good, right? What problems do we have with that? Well, we actually do have a problem with that. What we've seen in other states that have passed RFRA is that this bill becomes a license to discriminate against particularly LGBTQ plus communities. We were able to cite multiple instances right here in Georgia of college students who were denied services or denied care because there was a professor on campus who did not want to service them because they identified as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And these examples are what we see across the board in a good majority of states that do have Religious Freedom Restoration Acts passed. It is a license to discriminate against people who, someone does not agree with their lifestyle. This is an issue. because just because you have a right to exercise your religion does not mean that you have the right to discriminate against someone. And that is the issue that we took with this bill. It is a bill, again, that we fought year after year after year after year. And unfortunately, this past session, it was successful and it did pass and it is law in the state of Georgia. So what we're doing now at the ACLU of Georgia is just monitoring for instances where a person could potentially be discriminated against, and the person who is discriminating against them could cite this law as the reason why they're denying housing accommodation or denying a service like providing them with a wedding cake. Some of you all may be familiar with the Supreme Court case where a gay couple was denied cake services because the shop owner did not agree with their lifestyle, or their sexual orientation. So these are the concerns that we have. And again, it's not that we don't champion your First Amendment right to religious expression, because we do. It is guaranteed to us in our First Amendment. But our right to religious expression does not mean that we can discriminate against other people.
You can clap for that. You can clap. 'Cause let me tell you, it's not a if it's going to happen, it's a when. And that's why we're up here, and that's why the ACLU will always be monitoring on that. Sarah, you want to talk about IVF? Sarah, this is why you're up here. Come on now.
Yes, this was a win. We celebrate the few times where we can get a win under the Gold Dome, right? I think a lot of our organizations up here always play on the defensive so much. We're having to fight bad bills and try and work really hard to keep bad bills from passing. But the opportunities that we do have to support a bill, they're few and far between, but we cherish and relish in them. And HB 428 was one of those bills. It codified the right to IVF here in the state of Georgia, allowing countless numbers of families to be able to grow their family if they so choose, and make sure that abortion related restrictions don't apply to IVF. So you all may be familiar that in the state of Alabama, there was legislation passed that terminating embryos that were created through IVF would constitute abortion. And that law has been challenged, and I think is actually still on the books in Alabama. And so the codification here of IVF was a win because it did separate, the way that our bill is written, it did separate abortion access and abortion care from the ability to conceive through IVF. So this was a big win for reproductive freedom in the state of Georgia, even though we took some other losses in the reproductive justice field, but this was one that we were happy to get.
Let's hear it. That's great. Let's go. Mr. Bruce, may I take a point of privilege very quickly, sir? I just want to acknowledge two good friends of the Urban League. I'd be remiss. State Representative Terry Cummings. It's good to see you, Terry. And State Representative Derek Jackson. Thank you very much.
And I believe Representative McQueen is also with us.
Yes, good to see you. Thank you.
Good seeing you.
I guess these are our bills too. Yes, SB 1, it was the first bill that was introduced in the Senate this year. It codified a ban for transgender students to essentially not be able to play on school sports teams. Students have to play on the sports teams according to the gender that they were assigned at birth. We have a lot of concerns about this bill. Okay. It was passed and it is law in the state of Georgia. Also, SB 185, gender affirming care. This bill was really interesting because this bill particularly was about, I think the number was 7 people. I think there are 7 people who are currently incarcerated in the state of Georgia who would be seeking gender affirming care. And an entire piece of legislation was passed to prevent them from doing so. The legislature had so many debates and back and forth about how this was so costly to the state of Georgia, how this was so costly to the people of Georgia and such a burden on the healthcare system here in the state. But we were talking about 7 people. So it is now law that any person who is seeking gender-affirming care and is incarcerated in the state of Georgia cannot get that care. And we have undeniable evidence showing that gender-affirming care is life-saving care.
John, you're up, Urban League.
I am up. Okay, all right. So we're really excited. You know, one of the things that the State of Black Georgia report highlighted was the issue of maternal health, particularly for women of color. You know, and far too many women, unfortunately, are dying. If you recall, Ms. Johnson had a Spirit of the League this year. There was a gentleman whose name I don't recall. Yes, Mr. Johnson, whose wife unfortunately passed away as a result of that. But we've been tackling that. And so HB House Bill 89, excuse me, we support that requires healthcare providers and healthcare facilities and pharmacies to provide the Maternal Mortality Review Committee with psychiatric or other clinical records. And we know that one issue regarding maternal health, is mental health issues. So we want to make sure that women have access to all the services that they need. It didn't really get us to where we completely wanted to go, but we did move the needle, we believe, in the right direction. Next slide. NAACP.
All right. So back to RFRA, the Georgia NAACP, and I will say that we had several all units calls during the legislative session, and one of the bills that had robust discussion was RFRA. And one of the things that a lot of our units, particularly outside Metro Atlanta, was very concerned about the implementation of this, because as the young lady to my right with ACLU stated, that it really is a license to discriminate. It absolutely is, against Georgia's Black communities, as well as other protected groups. And one of the things that when we had our lobbying day, which I believe was, what was it, February 12th, Nicola? Yes.
March.
Okay. When we had units that came to the Capitol, one of the things that they pulled us to the side was asking for the status of this particular bill. And when we send them we sent alerts every week, along with after crossover day, when bills become phantom-like and start to be attached to other bills and craziness like that. One of the things that we continue to hear consistently from our units was this particular bill. And it's something that we're very concerned about, and we will continue to work with our coalition partners to make sure that all Georgians are respected, period.
Next slide. Okay, there we go. All right, so as we talked before about adult-approved HB 36, so this bill expands the list of healthcare professionals who can participate in Georgia guardianship. This is really key because it was very limited in terms it can include physician assistants, nurse practitioners, clinical nurses, specialists in psychiatric and mental health, marriage and family therapists, and professional counselors. As we stated, we supported this bill because the list was very narrow when it came to which healthcare professionals can help you with your guardianship when you're an adult. As we all know, it's a holistic thing when you go into your doctor's office, right? Especially when it comes to mental health. It's not just a doctor, right? You normally do see a physician assistant or RN or something like that. So this bill kind of helps support all that. It did come into effect May 12th of this year, and this was something that the Legal and Voter supported. And I briefly talked about this too. We talked about the school psychologist compact. This bill creates an interstate streamline for school psychologists across multiple states to address workforce shortages and improve access to services. It also helps, like I stated before, it also helps with records. It helps with the children as they move along different school systems. Everyone is going to be intermingling. And I'm sorry, I'm going through a little bit fast. I'm trying to help you guys with time. We're already at 7:30. Okay.
Well, actually, I think that's where we do need to hear from y'all. You can't talk, you can listen as well. So we're going to go and start with the question and answer portion from here. Well, a question that we can answer. I don't know what other things that are going on. Okay? So we got questions online that we can start off with while we all think of questions too. Okay?
And Chris, let's tell folks where they can go if they have a question in the room.
We actually have a podium at the front of the room with a freestanding microphone, so folks who have questions, please line up between those two circular tables. And I'm going to be reading some of the questions that we've got online. Hi everyone. Most of you probably saw me at the check-in table. Michaela Shelton, our community engagement manager at the ACLU of Georgia. One of the first questions we got online, someone wants to know what the status of the SAFE Act is that unfairly targets women voters restricting their rights to vote due to a different name of their birth certificate.
Was that about the state of Georgia and the SAVE Act, or just in general? Michaela? The SAVE Act, but how the state is going to play in that, or just overall? Well, I can speak on behalf of Legal Women Voters. We are completely opposed. We have been fighting. We have actually, from a federal standpoint, are on multiple lawsuits in terms of the SAVE Act. We're waiting to see if it gets to the next chamber and what happens there. But the SAVE Act not just hurts women, it hurts people who do not have birth certificates, especially here in the state of Georgia that has a large rural area. A lot of people are born by midwives or older who did not get a birth certificate. So to have this SAVE Act go into effect, from a federal standpoint, it also hurts folks who may be lost. I actually posed to our own legal team because I don't have my original birth certificate. It is a certificate of birth. It's a paper form that got notarized. Is that going to be acceptable because it's not my original form of a birth certificate? My mom somehow lost it, and then I know I needed it for a passport in school, and they just gave me some little form that said I was born. The law doesn't state or verifies the difference between the two. So this law is going to affect marginalized folks, our rural folks, our low-income folks, people who get married, people who've lost stuff, people whose parents don't know where their paperwork is at. So it is an attack on voter rights in that aspect, and it's an attack on all of us. Because if if your mothers are still alive and they have a different last name, guess what? If you're a male, you might say it's not affecting me, but it's going to affect your mothers. It's going to affect your sisters. If you have great-grandparents that are still alive or relatives that live in rural Georgia, it's going to affect them. So you personally, and in this room, I always tell people we have to think outside of Metro Atlanta when we look at these laws, because we have so many luxuries to be in a major city. This is the same thing about when people say, oh, all you need is a voter ID to vote. Not if you're in a small town. Everybody and their mama knows everybody. If you don't have a driver's license and you know you're 16, you can't get no alcohol in the local liquor store because they know your mom. So you don't need a driver's license, right? This was the same thing that came out of SB 202, right? They started talking about IDs and how everyone needs an ID. IDs is a luxury and it's a tax. And unless you live close to some place to get a free ID, it's still going to tax you because you have to travel there to get that free state ID. So the SAVE Act is an attack on everyone that's in this room. It is an attack on everyone in this country. Because if it attacks one person in your family, it attacks all of you.
Hello. I had a question regarding RFRA. So How could this bill be amended so that we both protect the right to religious freedom and expression and the right to not practice religion, et cetera, while also preventing the ability to discriminate on those grounds?
It's a great question, and there are two kind of main remedies to that, both of which we suggested during the legislative process this year. So one, I think Georgia is one of the only states in the South that does not have a comprehensive civil rights law on the books. And that is one way that we can safeguard, or try to at least help safeguard, some of the marginalized communities that could be impacted by this bill. So passing a comprehensive civil rights bill would be helpful, or just simply adding the language into the bill itself. And both of these things were proposed during session this year, and the bill sponsor adamantly refused each option.
Gotcha. As a follow-up, which one of those do you think is more politically viable for the next legislative session?
Well, I think I think it's the opinion of all of the legacy orgs here that we definitely need comprehensive civil rights legislation here in the state of Georgia.
All right, great. Thank you very much then.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Please bear with us. We only have one freestanding mic. There were some questions submitted ahead of our panelist start time. One question in particular, someone wanted to know, overall in the Georgia legislature, and they're expressing some sentiments of frustration, but why are our laws so weak and ambiguous that the current situation in which we find ourselves was even allowed to happen? There's no law against what the current administration is doing, or the law is so vague that it's been subject to twisted interpretation. So why are our laws written so weak and vague to allow this current situation to prevail?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to start this one off, okay? And while I think I understand the question, this really goes back to, this is a democracy. So when we look at the laws that are passed, they pass with the reflection of what your constituents have. That's the theory behind all of that. You put these people, 236 of them, at that gold dome. And every year, they really have only one constitutional charge, and that is what? Anybody know?
Pass the budget.
Pass the budget. They do a lot more than pass the budget, though, don't they? Including rolling back the rights that have already been promised you since the beginning of the state and since the beginning of this country. So why are laws weak? Why are laws bending? So there's a difference between policy and politics. We already know the best policies out there when it comes to pre-K, mandatory pre-K. We know that if children go to mandatory pre-K, we know they have a better chance of getting a job, having healthier lives, and everything else, right? We know what policies are the best policies for our people. Do we always pass the right policies, though? No, because that's politics. Everybody doesn't want everybody to be happy and healthy in this state. We know that. We have to do something about those people who do vote on these bills, but we have to hold them accountable. Is it easy to do that? No, because you have this thing called redistricting as well. We know that, again, in politics, your party wants to stay in power. This is one of the reasons why I've always stayed with the ACLU. ACLU is nonpartisan. You will barely even hear us say the word Democrat or Republican. We don't care. We want to hold everyone accountable who is supposed to be representing you. So it only takes what? It takes you, and it takes forums like this to make sure that we go down to the Capitol and demand that your civil rights and your civil liberties are done. Anybody else? Go ahead, John.
I just want to chime in on that. And I had a chance to talk to our CEO earlier. I had a chance to attend conference today. And the bottom line is, it's really not a fair fight. It's not a fair fight. There's no way in the world as a legislator, and I'm not a legislator, but we see them all the time, whether it's in DC or here or City Hall, that the amount of money in this system, it has corrupted the entire system. We saw during the last few weeks with this big, beautiful bill, particularly with Medicare and Medicaid, and Chris, we were in DC, and we saw wheelchairs lined up, literally by the thousands, talking to members of Congress. And when they did these town hall meetings, did y'all see those town hall meetings? Did y'all see those town hall meetings, those congressional ones? The people had expressed a resounding no that, in terms of what they wanted. But in spite of those cries, some members went against the wishes, but because the pressure is so great. If I have to run again in office, if I have to raise a certain amount of money, I'm not suggesting that that's an integrity issue, but I want you to know, everyday citizens, you pay your rent, your mortgage, you put the kids through college, it's not a fair fight. You have 20, 30, 40 lobbyists based on industries, banking and insurance and housing and real estate. It's not a fair fight. It's outrageous to take 20 million people and throw them out in the goddamn street. It's unconscionable. It's a sin against God. For me, not for the Urban League. But because it's not a fair fight. And until we get this money situation under control in this process, and the Supreme Court threw us all under the bus with that decision. That's my opinion. Because who has $1,000 to write for a check? Who has whatever it is to do? It's not a fair fight. So the only thing that we have to counter the billions of dollars in this process is you.
That's right, John. Say it again. Say it again, John.
We the people.
That's right.
I don't have $1 million, but if I bring Nancy, and I bring Chris,
Yes,
and I
that's
bring
right.
Nicola, and I bring Kip, and Sarah, guess what? It's a fair fight. So when people don't show up, I'm not talking about who you vote for. You have people who didn't show up. I don't want to hear it now. Did you show up in November? Because now all of us are on the front lines to have to fight the good fight. But anyway, I'm sorry about that, but that
No,
hit
you talked
me.
about
Fine,
it.
you're
That's
fine.
good. John, I thought you did have $1 million.
I know.
You know.
I think we have one more in-person question. We had an in-person question.
Mr. Moore, I thought you was gonna get up there and preach for a minute there. My name is Montina Young Frazier. I am from McDonough, Georgia, and we're Henry County. And I have a specific question centered around engagement, citizen engagement, which goes back to people just don't show up to local elections. We've had city council members voted in with 71 votes. But as it relates to our House as well as Senate, we have people that are there with 30 and 40 years. And from an advocacy standpoint, how do we, as citizens, we keep hearing accountable, accountable, accountable. We don't know what they're doing in terms of the bills they're passing. Oftentimes, as citizens, we act like they're celebrities. We see them, and I was guilty too. I no longer do that. So again, my specific question is, how can everyday citizens stay better informed and engaged before the bills get to a vote when advocacy might have been the greatest impact? And just a quick story, quick behind that. SB 109 went into law, and then I know this was one bill that was for to safeguard life insurance coverage for Georgia's active duty service members. My nephew, my son-in-law's son, died 2 days before his 24th birthday. He was active duty military, and the insurance would not pay it out. And so I asked him, I was on my way to India, and I said, this just doesn't seem right. Do you know your senator? Senator Harbison took it all the way up and fought on our behalf, but I understood how government works. Most people just don't understand. So if you all could start giving us pathways, frameworks, so that we can hold our elected officials who are here and those that are in our communities accountable, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. You gonna go, Kip? Go ahead.
Let me just say that if you are in the sound of my voice, you have the opportunity of proximity. What I mean is, all of us here can get to the Capitol within what, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Think about people in South Georgia or in the coast that have to travel 5, 6, 7 hours to be here. So that's one advantage that we have that I don't think a lot of us think about. I believe in terms of civic engagement that people have to decide for themselves to create and make a lifestyle of what type of change do they wish to see. Now, if it's just replacing a few people, that's fine. But if the end result is the enacting of policies, then I think that one of the things that we need to be mindful of, that it may not occur in one cycle, but it may take several cycles. When I first started working in the Capitol during the Barnes administration, one of the things that I saw, I know I don't look that old.
I was about to say, you started working with Will Barnes?
I know it.
Down at the Capitol?
But one of the things that I remember is the fact that other forces were organizing back in the early 2000s. And a lot of those individuals are now in positions of responsibility. Okay. I was there when the House went from Democrat to Republican. One of the things, even while the House is getting close to that 91 votes, which will be majority, we have to decide, we have to know when the first day of session, and just like we remind our friends and our family about going to vote, I have a text chain of my nieces and nephews, and they will tell you, PSC election, they got sick of me because I was making sure that they were voting and making sure that their status was okay. But that's not enough. We've got to identify when the seats are coming up. We have to know when the session is, and when the doors are open down there, we need to be there. And when if you go down Washington Street, right there in front of Central Presbyterian Church, every single day that the Capitol is in session, there are buses from all over the state. You know, I'll see Decatur County, I'll see Thomas County, but I don't see enough from this area. And why is that? Now, one of the things that we were told back in, 2006, 2007, when there was this big redistribution of property tax reform, is when people start to show up down at the Capitol, they want to know what will it take to get you gone. So that should say we should make it a habit of being down there whenever the legislative session is up. That's your Capitol. Everybody has a right to be there.
Listen, here's the deal. I'm gonna put somebody. I'll do one of the interns. I just want to illustrate a point real quick. Can you come over here for a moment? She's young. She's not gonna mind.
I was just gonna follow up with it.
May I ask you something? Okay. Where do you live? What county do you live in? You live in Henry County. Okay. Do you know who your county commissioner is? Okay. Did you all hear the question to this young lady? She said she lives in Henry County. I'm just asking her. No, this young lady here. And I asked her who her county commissioner was, and she said she wasn't certain. May I ask you, who's your state representative? Who represents you in the state house? No, David Scott is a member of Congress. Who's your state representative? Your commissioner. Okay, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm just illustrating a point. So who is your state senator? Yes. That's the United States senator. Y'all get the point? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I can go right now in my block where I live in Gwinnett County. I'm talking about homeowners, people who put their kids through college. I can knock on the door. Who's your county commissioner in Gwinnett County? They don't know. Who's your state representative? I'm telling you, they don't know. Who's your state senator? Who's the mayor? They don't know. Who's the police commissioner? What's the county budget? They don't know. We have to educate our people. Am I right, Representative? We have to do that. So take the next question. Yes. Yes, ma'am, please.
Good evening. My name is Terry Cummings, and I am a state legislator. I'm out here in District 39, which is Mapleton and Smyrna. I am also the vice chair for the Cobb delegation. First, I'd like to thank everyone for having this event here tonight. And whenever I come to anything and I have a chance to speak, I always try to get something in about advocacy because it is so important. And we as legislators, we have a duty to keep you advised and abreast of what's going on to the best of our ability. But you also have a job too. There's not one law that's being discussed that you cannot Google, look up, and see what is going on with it and see how people voted. You can go back tonight and see how every single one of us voted on any piece of legislation. So to come in and say, how do I find out? It's just too easy nowadays with social media. The other thing I tell people is that it's really important is that you get engaged. Everybody can't do everything, but everybody can do at least one thing. And if you want to know what's going on with some of these important bills, the easiest thing to do, join the Urban League. Support the ACLU, support these organizations that are down there. I see Brother Bruce and Brother John every day down at the Capitol.
That's right, we see you too, okay?
And if there's a bill of any importance, they're in those committee meetings because those are the meetings where you can actually make a public comment and be heard. And I tell people all the time, you know, I'm in a sorority, every sorority fraternity organization, we have our day down at the Capitol. That's nice. It's not going to get the job done. You know, that one day, it's just not going to get the job done. And so once you connect with these organizations or any organization that's doing the work, if there's an area, because you can't be, if there's an area that's of interest to you, that's what you focus on. And then you have to know when those committee meetings are coming up, because that's when you can target the people on those committees, on both sides of the aisle. And you can find out when that hearing is going to be. You can sign up and come down to, speak. So you can have a voice. But it frustrates me a little bit because we're good at registering. We're not good at getting out and voting. And it's just, so important. And everybody likes, like these different phrases. Part of the reason why we're where we at is because enough people don't come out to vote.
That's right, and we're going to get these people out here to do that too.
Yeah, but to be realistic, you can't do everything. Hook up with the people that are.
Yeah. Oh.
And use them as a vehicle.
Y'all heard that endorsement right there? There we go. That's the important one. Good. Let's go to our next question.
Hello, my name is Winstina Dixon, and I'm going to be very frank and candid with this question. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to ACLU and NAACP and ULGA for all the work that you guys do. I'm a 24-year-old woman who currently is houseless and homeless, living in her van, and I want to ask, how is it that you guys serve the community? Specifically, I use ChatGPT to help me out with this. How does the ACLU and the Urban League of Greater Atlanta, as well as NAACP, approach direct physical outreach, especially for youth and families still grappling with the everyday impact of systemic oppression? And what does that look like for you guys? And I also want to add that every single weekend, even through the things that I'm going through, me and the people that are around me are outside in the streets, and it's just us. It's just us who don't have the backing of these communities.
That's a heavy hitting question.
Or passing out hygiene products, foods, and things of that nature.
I'd like to call on President Johnson really because this is her
So you ask one of those big questions like that, we're gonna bring in a big hitter.
Well, I want to say, let's connect. Let's connect. Because every day, all day, we are connecting to families like you. Every day. And with the resources we have and the partnerships we have, we do our best to connect you with what you need. So I'm here for you after this meeting, but I will tell you, the resources that we had through the ARPA funds for rental assistance to help you get another home. We had $3 million from one county and a little bit of dollars from many others. And we served over 1,500 families to keep them housed and move into other places. All that money is gone. It is gone.
It's called ARPA?
ARPA. It was the money that came about through the pandemic, but it was in place under the Biden administration for for those 4 years. And now those resources are over. And with the passage of the big, I can't even call it beautiful. It is evil. Straight up, that's cutting off food stamps, subsidized housing, these are the things I know you need. They're bridge things. So you can get back on your feet, so you can sustain yourself and your family. So in the meantime, we working it with what we know is available. So we're here for you with that. And so whether that's, we're gonna identify whether it's the options for a person in your situation, which I say we see every day, is shelters, is subsidized housing, waiting lists. That's all that's available. We don't have enough housing, people, for people that they can afford. Because ever since the pandemic in particular, when landlords, because this state refuses to put any limits on the increasing of rents, wages didn't go up as fast as housing has. And literally, almost every family I see, you do the math, income, expenses, you in the negative every single month. And what falls first? Housing, because it is the biggest expense. And after that, everything falls apart. So I understand where you are. I want to talk to you about it. We're everywhere. That's all I can tell you. We're in 5 locations. We got more people than we can handle, and there's thousands more like you that we want to support. And we'll do whatever we can to help you as best we can. But at the end of the day, let me just say, for her, that might not be enough. I get that. But what are we going to do for the short term? You got to have some immediate help, right?
Yeah.
You got to have some immediate help. Whatever help I can give you, we will get you. We'll start with the county. We'll deal with the city. I'm not sure where you're located. Wherever that is, that's where we start. But share what you were going to follow with.
I understand that, because I've worked with Youth Collaboratory. It's a nonprofit that works with the federal government to get grants to to you guys for y'all to be able to give out the money.
Right.
Now, what I see that there's just in this, I'll say I got laid off May 31st, and just with 2 weeks of extensive foot groundwork, I was able to get contacts and actual hygiene products just with my own feet. Mm-hmm. And reaching out and talking to the people who are in the streets of Smyrna, who are in the streets of Roswell.
That's where
and I was
you are.
able to fill up my truck, and I was able to pass that out just
That's
with my
County,
mouth. So in what ways do you guys go outside and actually go get the products and bring it to the people? What does that look like, not waiting on funding?
Well, funding drives the ability to do all of that.
So what I'm saying
not saying
is
that.
Specifically is crowdfunding, and I find that the people in our realm don't understand how to utilize crowdfunding, or they're just too scared.
Okay.
Or even me, with a month of me having my GoFundMe, folks have looked down on me, have literally turned their face at me because they don't understand what it means to, when you're in a vulnerable situation, how to utilize crowdfunding. And I think that
it is a tool.
We're not doing that. The nonprofits aren't doing that, and we're waiting on the grants.
Well, we're not just waiting on grants. We're raising money day to day. But I got you. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing.
We're gonna say
because first, okay. I want to thank you, and I want to acknowledge you for your bravery and for your vulnerability.
Yes,
being
for
here.
sure.
and
For
sharing your
sure.
story, because it's not an easy situation that you're in.
Right.
And I also want to thank you because you've come here and you're holding us accountable.
Yes.
We get up here and we talk about holding our legislators accountable. We talk about holding the president accountable, the governor accountable. But what are we really doing? And you coming here and holding the mirror up to ourselves is helpful. And that's the
Yes.
way that we can improve and make sure that we are reaching people who are in your same situation.
Absolutely.
So I don't have all the answers. I don't know if anyone up here has all the answers, but we thank you because now we're going to try and work and make sure that we do.
And beyond the thank you, we're here for you. Okay? So that's what we'll do. Thank you.
I was going to add also, these organizations up here also have more organizations that we work with, and in particular, feminine hygienes. There's a whole org that works with that, and we can definitely connect you with those different organizations that's their mission. There's a lot of organizations in the state of Georgia that's their mission about the unhoused. It's about hygiene. That's their true mission, and that's where they pull all their monies from. So I know we can definitely connect you and the people you're with on that outside of Nancy and Urban League.
People is me. Happy
Okay.
Nation. Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, so we could definitely pull those resources for
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A point of privilege, thank you. State Representative Imani Barnes.
Dr. Barnes.
Dr. Barnes.
Thank you again for this panel, and this is an amazing crowd on, what day is it, Tuesday? Tuesday afternoon, and the Braves game is right there, and we're all in here seeing how we can make change. I am State Representative Imani Barnes. I represent Emory, Toco Hills, Tucker, Clarkston, Stone Mountain, some of Decatur, so DeKalb County. Thank you for your testimony. You are in the right place at the right time. You got change makers in the building, so you should have plenty of resources up here, all right? Whatever district you're in, they're gonna hook you up with your state representative as well, so you'll have more resources, so don't be worried. My focus is on our youth. I focus a lot on our youth. I had all summer the Period Project, where we collected period menstrual products for the low-income schools in my district, so people are working on the ground. We are working. Someone said something about a weak bill. Y'all, we are working. We barely sleep. You understand that? We too are learning about what's happening from the top. And so we take the information, we get it just as y'all do. Maybe a week before, and we have to read through hundreds and thousands of pages to catch up so we can get it to the community. So I ask y'all to give us some grace. We represent 60,000 people a district. I'm one person. I'm actually a single mother, almost done with my PhD, just defended it. Appreciate it. And I have a son who is going to high school, so I have a life, a personal life too, but most of my time, like I worked all day, full-time job, we get paid $23,000 a year to legislate, 60,000 people. So I have to work a full-time job, take care of my child, and legislate the people. So I want y'all to give us some grace when you're saying we're making weak bills, because we are not drafting weak bills. We had Sine Die, April 4th, April 5th and 6th, 7th, we was out doing legislative wrap-ups, getting ready to draft. We have to work all summer to draft legislation to be ready for January. So we don't draft weak bills, we're just I'm in the minority party. So one of my bills is to feed all our kids in the state. It's called the Healthy Start Act. It will give them free school lunch and free school breakfast. I've had this bill for 3 years. Let's not clap because it has not passed. It's not a weak bill. I'm just in the minority. It has not even gotten a hearing in 3 years, but I have found a way to work across the aisle to get $6 million in the budget each year to feed over 70,000 kids. Now, this is what I have just had to learn. I just learned with you all that they're cutting the funding, right? So I've been doing research over the past 2 weeks on how that would affect our Georgia children. And I need to get my iPad, I'll give you some specific numbers, but the feds give us over $200 million in assistance. We give $6 million. So if they cut that, how many kids aren't gonna eat next school year? So this is my fight, and it has been, but I want to focus on maternal mortality, mental health. But every year I have to focus on feeding the kids, and I don't think anyone understands that we're even fighting for that. And so what we need from y'all is to say we shouldn't be fighting to feed the kids. That takes emailing, blasting. That takes coming up to the Capitol because it's y'all's house, the people's house. It takes the same stuff y'all do on social media every day. It takes coming up to the Capitol, learning who is who, and what position and who does what.
Well, how can people get in touch with you, Representative?
I mean, I'm on social media.
What's your social media? Let's shout it out.
Y'all go ahead and follow me now. It's at IMANI, the number 4, and GA. That's all my handles. You get to see what I'm doing. You get to stay in touch. That's the easiest way. That's for my young ones. Or you can just call to the Capitol. You can go to Georgia House of Representatives and look us up. You can Google us, which is the easiest way. All of our information is public, unfortunately. And so y'all can look us up.
Do that. Google Georgia General Assembly. It'll pop up.
Any legislator. But this is what I'm saying. Know what we're working on, because I can't work on everything. I can't work on every issue, but I can say I'm one of the ones that is working on free school lunch. I'm one of the only advocates in the House. And so if I stop working on it, I don't know who's going to work on it. So know who's working on what. Like, I'm not working on everything, but know who's working on what. Okay, I'll talk all day. Follow me, get some more information. We have newsletters, emails, everything. Sign up for everything and stay involved. But know that we are working hard for y'all. There aren't any weak bills that we're drafting.
So talking about bills, right? We're going to try to wrap this up and make sure everyone gets out on time and not get, the first pitch was 7:15, so we won't get caught up in the baseball game. But there are definitely one bill that we need to push and one bill we need to stop. So everyone up here was talking about SB 120, these numbers be in my head, right? But do you guys realize that SB 120 died? It turned into HB 127. HB 127 was a bill that was a great bill. It was to increase teacher salaries, and they hijacked it and put the DEI ban into HB 127. So this is our second year of their legislative session. And if you think that the folks who were working on that SB 120 bill, who try to piggyback it on the HB bill, is going to let it die, it's coming back. It is coming back. And when you think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not just the color of my skin. It's not my gender or sexuality. It's religious rights. It's disability rights. It's veteran rights. So all of that is tied in there. I know myself, and I know John and Chris and his team, we testified up and down early in the morning to at least fight SB 120. And like I said, they piggybacked back on a great bill. So now our teachers in the state of Georgia couldn't get an increase, because that bill was going to pass. That was a bipartisan bill. So that bill right there, HB 127, keep that in mind, because they can bring it back in January. And trust me, they're spending their little summer vacations on how to tweak it. I had actually a senator point out, like, oh, we just need to change this wording and we won't get sued. And I said, illegal women voters will sue you. So that's one bill. Our next one, the next bigger one we want is...
Let's get some more questions in before we get into all that.
Okay.
Because yes, please.
Hi, my name is Dana. A very quick question. I specialize in surveillance technologies, and I know that's a really hot topic right now, especially like at the inauguration. We had the tech bros that were all up there. So most of those are federal laws as far as privacy, but within the state of Georgia, what I'm actually have been going and around doing for the last couple of weeks now is speaking with pastors, rabbis, and imams, because the live feeds of their services are being reversed. And their protections as far as the safe spaces of like a church are no longer in existence. So that's one thing that I wanted to ask. Facial recognition technologies, another thing as far as the apartment complexes, to bypass keys and the cost, they are starting to engage facial recognition for the locks. But the facial recognition technologies, especially for dark skin, African American people and the like, 40% failure rate, and the representative, I think the cost for a defense of someone if their face was incorrectly used or included within a crime review by law enforcement, it's like $800. So my question is, because there's all these change makers in the room, a lot of people are aware of these abuses, but they A, don't know how to report them, and then B, we don't know who our person is. So which organization and how to unite like someone like me who's just doing foot traffic and all the great people here. Thanks.
Great question. I'm going to call on State Representative Terry Cummings, because Terry and I worked on a bill on facial recognition.
Literally just talked about it.
I was going to call you out, and it's not being regulated at all.
No.
And so, Terry, can you talk about your bill?
I actually, not this current session, but last session, and unfortunately I don't remember the bill number because it was 2 years ago, but I introduced a bill that would provide guidance to law enforcement on facial recognition. And I basically took the bill from what the Cobb County Police are doing, to be fairly transparent. They've had a successful policy in place for a couple of years now, and they've been able to avoid those, pitfalls. So after sitting down with them, finding out what was going on, and finding that they had something, I basically took it and, formatted it so that it could apply. But there are several challenges with it. First, depending on where you are, your agency has to be big enough to have the staff to do it. And some of these counties don't have the staff to do it. But the way it works in Cobb, which is really cool, you can, let's say you're you're being investigated and they find your face somewhere. That investigator cannot do anything with that photo. And that's where the mistake happens. An investigator will see a photo, they'll match it, and they'll think, this is my smoking gun, and they have their person. Well, in Cobb, you can't do that. You submit that to a separate department, just like you would submit DNA evidence, just like you would submit the ballistics on a gun, any other piece of evidence. It gets looked at by an entity that has nothing to do with the case. If they find that they believe it's a match, then it goes to another division. They make the determination, and then they tell that investigating officer. So that's how it's done out here, and that's how they avoid those, traps. So it's something that I'm still working on with the Police Association and other organizations. And it was introduced, but like I said, still working on it. So don't know if it will pass next year, quite frankly, because next year is going to be a rough year if you haven't picked it up. It's going to be a rough year. This year, and anybody up on that stage that's been coming down to the Capitol a lot longer than me can tell you the tone and just the way things flowed was totally different. And it took on a whole nother connotation, and there was a meanness to it that was just unbelievable. And that's going to get even worse, next year. So to be honest, as a Democrat with a bill, some got through this year, but to get something through next year on an election year is really going to be a challenge. But that doesn't stop us from doing the work.
That's right. Let's do the work. I want everybody, good. Thank you, Representative Cummings. Always great anything. I want everybody to repeat after me, BIPA. BIPA, B-I-P-A, BIPA. Anybody know what BIPA means? Biometric Information Privacy Act. It's a law that is passed in Illinois years ago, specifically to protect your biometric data. So yes, facial recognition, when it comes to DNA, anything that has to deal with that, you have to sign off on it. ACLU has the legislation. It has been passed in several states. Has it been passed in Georgia? Of course it hasn't passed in Georgia. That would be the right thing to do. But we will have that introduced to with the help of the other representatives in here. I'm going to say another one. Repeat after me. CCOPS. CCOPS. Everybody on this panel knows about CCOPS. We're going to talk about CCOPS right now, right? CCOPS, community control over police surveillance. What does that mean? Does anybody know Atlanta is the most surveilled city in the United States? It is. Did y'all know that? 5th in the world. Why is that? Because y'all keep giving over your data. CCOPS is one of those type of pieces of information that where you have control over police surveillance. You're hearing a preview of it now because it's going to be a big deal later on. This is something where you, as advocates in the community, can take control of your privacy and your data. So I'm glad that you said that question because we're coming to you to help you to pass it. Okay? All right, y'all, it's a time check right now. Where are we at? It's 8:11. This was supposed to end at 8 o'clock. Y'all want to hang out all night? Like, what y'all want to do? We still got a lot of food in the back. Make sure you get some to-go plates. Do we have any other questions?
Any more questions from the audience? Anything online that hasn't been answered?
Oh, y'all want to do same time next week? Yeah, is that what y'all want to do?
Do we have anything online that we haven't answered?
Not that we haven't.
No
Okay.
questions online?
So I think, Chris, like I said, I was starting off with the bills that we want to focus on. So I did give an opposed bill, but we have, as a legacy organization or legacy coalition, we all came together with some of our other partners and came up with the comprehensive civil rights bill. I'm waiting for you so y'all can read that. Rights one? Okay, there we go. So we were able to get this, I think it was March? Yeah, March. And we were able to get the Georgia Civil Rights Act of 2025. This bill has two numbers. There's HB 670 and SB 320. So they have numbers. Obviously, we did not get a hearing because it came out in March. But this is another action call. So we did an opposed bill, right? We're all looking at that HB 127. We want to say no to that. This is a bill that we need support. And I believe, everyone's like, how do you support? What do you do? This is a bill that you can be calling your legislators for and saying, why is it doesn't have a hearing? Alabama has a civil rights bill. Florida has a civil rights bill. Mississippi has a civil rights bill.
Actually, Mississippi does not have comprehensive civil rights.
Oh, okay. So
we're actually in a competition.
We got competition with Mississippi now. Do we want to be
to be the last state to pass a comprehensive civil rights
And
act?
considering that the civil rights was birthed here, the revolution and the fight for civil rights was birthed here, and the state it was birthed in does not have a comprehensive civil rights bill. So this is a bill that all four of our organizations came together and signed off on this and said, we are going to introduce this as a legacy coalition bill to have the push of all of our organizations across the state to push. So this is a bill that you want to keep these two numbers, is what we're looking for. We need it to have a hearing. We need to have it to have readings, and so that it can continue to move past both of the chambers. So we have two bills. HB the first one, the one we're opposing. 127, right? If you don't remember, just talk to every state legislator that you know and say, we are against the anti-diversity, equity, and inclusion bill, right? Everyone should have a right to have support. Then you want to say, but I want you to bring up the comprehensive Georgia Civil Rights Act. That needs to have a hearing. You're like my little brother. All right. So with no other questions, this is our call to action. We're going to always leave you with a call to action. I think someone asked, where are we meeting up next? Right? I think that was the question, the last question. More discussion. So I would definitely say we are running out of time today. We have that QR code that you have on your card actually has all the bills that we, as individual organizations, the bills that we are working on together. It has more information. Also on that card, you will see our contact information. All of our missions are different, but also aligned. And so when it comes to next steps, I would definitely say reach out to all of the organizations or one that aligns more closely with you, because we're all working this summer about what we're going to do for the new session. It's hard to kind of put, like I said, we could be here all night to talk about more of the bills, more what we can do. I know, like, I have some of my board members here, my advocacy, VP of advocacy is here, my VP of voter services is here. This is the stuff we do all summer. And we built up for our January, we built up for our election season. So I will definitely say, in sake of time. And I'm going to, no, because
We're gonna
Nancy,
give
you
it
were supposed to open us up.
Nancy, and then I'm going to give it to Michaela for our call to action.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to also announce, because I didn't really answer your question in the right way in the beginning. Out of all of these organizations, Urban League is the one that delivers direct services to people every single day. So I do want you to know that. We focus on stability, helping people with emergency needs like yours. We support people to connect with employment and job training so they can earn more in their households. We support small businesses to grow, and we also support people to connect as best we can with affordable housing. And ultimately, our goal is to help people become homeowners. And then fifth pillar that John leads for us is our civic engagement, policy, and legislative. So we operate as a financial empowerment and emergency relief center. And so I do want you to know that across the board. So anybody, all people are welcome. We don't have enough resources to do everything people need, but we have partnerships and we connect people with all the resources we know of and that we can. And we talk to you about your individual situation confidentially and privately and help you figure out what's best for you. So that's what we do. And so we're here for you. And I definitely want to follow up with you, young lady, after this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Johnson. Okay, I'm the only thing standing between y'all and getting some more food and getting up out of here before rush hour traffic picks back up after the game. But I want to thank everybody for attending our 2025 legislative recap. Session is not currently happening right now, but there are many impactful things you could still do in your own roles. And as the community engagement manager for the ACLU of Georgia, I would be remiss to not tell you all of the opportunities where you could take action and volunteer. Some people in this room who are wearing ACLU shirts have also been at the Capitol during legislative session and served as Capitol observers who are our eyes and ears of democracy and protect First Amendment rights down under the Gold Dome. They also lead tours and share history about legislative session. And so if you want to get involved and not only share your story with legislators, but also inspire other people to be comfortable under the Gold Dome, we'd love to have you as part of our legal observer program. Folks are also online, we're questioning the power of making a phone call, sending a letter. Does that really change a legislator's mind? We know the power of people and that people power campaigns in Georgia. And so we do train our volunteers to share their testimony. We give talking points and we provide opportunities for you to do some direct lobbying, but also to have smaller conversations with your neighbors, with your family members who may not be able to follow what's happening under the Gold Dome the way you are. And so if you are interested at all in sharing your story in any capacity, if you are impacted by any of the pieces of legislation we talked about today, please come and find me or my colleague Jersey. We are in the business of collecting community impact because our legislators need to hear about how these bills affect everyday Georgians like yourself. And if you are searching for more opportunities to get involved, whether with the ACLU of Georgia or any of our amazing partners, like President Hines said, please scan that QR code. We'll have follow-up opportunities for you to engage, so you'll be ready with us for the 2026 legislative session. So please come and find us. I will be hanging out as well in the back if folks have more questions for how they'd like to take action, but please share what you heard in this room with someone who couldn't be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So as the saying goes, you don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here. I'm like, but no, enjoy. There's definitely a lot of food back there. Please grab some. I believe we still have some more plates and stuff. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night and get home safely.